The mighty Toronto Blue Jays, they lost a modified doubleheader today to Tampa Bay Rays. The first one, picking off from yesterday, they lost 3-2, and then the second one they lost in the extra innings, in 8 innings actually. As the second one was only a 7 inning game, they lost 7-5, a blown save, and then a bit of an adventure in right field by Teoscar Hernandez.
I'll let you guys go first. I'll save my words.
No, I think your rant is very important to the success of our podcast.
Yeah, we need it.
Their outfield is not good, and Teoscar is just emblematic of the problems that this organization has in identifying younger players that have the potential to grow. They haven't developed any of they brought in Teoscar, they brought in Brandon Drury, who infield and outfield. They brought in Derek Fisher, Grichuk. I mean, he's off to an okay start, but 2 full years prior, I mean nothing. So, or very little. I won't say nothing, very little. So I just have to wonder, why do they just keep bringing in these same kinds of outfielders, mediocre outfielders who, yeah, they can hit 20 home runs, but they cannot get on base. The defense is, Grichuk is fine. The rest are questionable. What are they seeing? I mean, and hitting 20 home runs in this day and age with the funky baseball that they introduced back in 2015, 2016, and this whole launch angle fad, 20 home runs is not the benchmark that it once was, where if a player hit 20 home runs and it was like some sort of it's a monumental achievement. No, now it's standard. You're having mediocre players with on-base percentages in the 280s, 290s hitting 20 home runs. When you play in AL East ballparks, those are small ballparks. You can hit 20 accidentally. Just occasionally pitchers will throw bad pitches and you'll hit them out. So this is just emblematic of their problem. I'm very, very bullish of their pitching. I really believe that the pitching has been fantastic this year. A lot of their starters that they've turned into relievers, like Anthony Kay and Ryan Barucki, they've done quite well coming out of the pen. Jordan Romano has been a revolution. They've developed that slider over the offseason, and he was a quadruple A guy, a 26, 27-year-old rookie last year, or 26-year-old rookie last year, quad A guy. Now he's turning into a dominant reliever, and you can see that the Cleveland guys, Cleveland in recent years has turned into a factory of turning non-superstar prospect pitchers into really good pitchers. Clevenger and Bieber and Kluber and Carrasco was a late bloomer. They haven't just become good, like serviceable pitchers. They've become dominant, top line, all-star level pitchers, and I really am bullish on the Jays pitching moving forward. But I do question their ability to identify offensive talent and develop it. You have Bo Bichette, but they never wanted to draft Bo Bichette. It was Brian Parker, Anthopoulos'.
But to be honest, they did develop him, right? So yeah, I mean, they didn't need to draft him, but they did develop him, and they have developed like their own guys. I mean, if you look at it, Cavan Biggio, he was considered more of a non-prospect to begin with. So the fact that he's made it to the majors, he's a pretty important part of the lineup, even though he's a true outcome guy. But there are a dime a dozen in the league. So at least like they've done some development. I think my challenge with them is similar to what you said about the outfield guys that they've been going after. And I think Andrew Scotton wrote in one of his articles, I think, where he said that it seems like that's Ross Atkins type. So you have a guy who can play corner outfield, has a little bit of a pop, low on base, who can play center field in a pinch. And that's pretty much every outfielder that they've basically gone after in trade market. So Hernandez and Billy McKinney's of the world, or even Randall Grichuk. I mean, although he's more of a center fielder than a corner outfielder, but the offensive profile remains the same. And I agree with you with the whole launch angle revolution, right? I mean, like even if you look at 5 years ago, 62 players in Major League Baseball hit 20 home runs. Last year, 120.
Mm-hmm.
So like twice as many people over 5 years now hitting 20 home runs. So yeah, absolutely. That's no longer a benchmark of power. It's just an indication of what the league offensively looks like today. People are trading um, strikeouts for 20, 25 home runs from pretty much every spot in the lineup. So yeah, that's not a big deal. But I mean, to his credit, Hernandez offensively has had a really good start this year, right? Whatever few games they won, he's been an important part of that offense. So, do you give him a pass for this one game?
No.
But overall, I think he's been good. I mean, his OPS is over 1,000 this season so far, and we can't do sample sizes this season because the whole season is a small sample size.
Small sample size, but yes, and he's hit a lot of home runs, so I'm not going to take away from that. I'm looking not just this year, but like Teoscar Hernandez's overall Blue Jays career to date. I mean, he still has a 309 on base percentage. Like a 7.1. This is a good JP Arencibia month. A lot of home runs and can't get on base.
I think it's actually gone up to 316.
Okay, this was as coming into today.
Yeah. So I think my big concern with what I've seen is just it's that filling the gaps, like you guys said, like they haven't been able to find those guys. Sure, you've developed some talent, but it's filling the gaps and being able to find decent bats. When I look up and down the lineup and I look at the averages in there and I look at the on base percentages, like it's not good. And right now the Jays as a team are in the bottom third, hitting 236 of the league, and their on base percentage is seventh worst. It's 701. And actually, these numbers were, I believe, as of a couple of days ago, so that might have slightly changed. But those numbers are awful, and it's tough to watch offensively. Like at one point, they had 14 solo home runs in a row before Bo Bichette finally hit a 3-run home run against Miami. Those numbers aren't good. You need people on base in order to be able to win. And the other thing is, I don't know if you guys heard, but Bo Bichette is actually on the 10-day injury list, and that means he's going to miss 11 games. So that's like, how many games are left?
I think they've played like 20 so far, so they have 2/3 of the season left.
That's a huge loss for him to be out 11 games. Like that's massive.
So yeah, I mean, offense has been a concern, but I still feel like the team has lost a lot of winnable games this season. It's either sometimes the bullpen, a couple of times it's the offense that didn't click. I mean, they're like in the bottom five in WAR. The offense has been pretty
they're
terrible, but it's been below average for sure.
coming into, and this is after this week. I mean, they got to Buffalo this week, and they had a few breakout games, but they're 27th in the league in on base percentage at 301. So now let me the caveat is that look, they haven't had a home ballpark. They've been on the road for 3 weeks, no routine, they haven't. It's been baseball and offense is a game about rhythm and routine, and they haven't had that. So I don't want to just say just crap all over them and not acknowledge the fact that it has not been an easy season in that regard. They couldn't play in Toronto. They were stuck in a hotel in Washington for a few days after the Phillies players tested positive with COVID. So they've had some challenges, but I mean, a lot of these issues stem from prior years. And even Biggio, yeah, great. He's going to get on base. He's a 3 outcome guy, but in the AL East to compete to win, you need impact offensive star players. You need to go up against guys that can go up against the Stantons and the Aaron Judges and I was going to say Mookie Betts. Boston traded him. But the Xander Bogaerts type guys. You need impact bats. And I think outside of Bo Bichette right now, there's not a lot of impact. Vlad could still be that. I still believe he can, although the slow start has been concerning. But they need.
Yeah, but he's still 21 years old. I mean, let's always never forget that. Like, he's still very, very young.
Also, I'm just looking at it. In his last 7 games, he's hitting 296.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a couple of home runs, only 3 RBIs, but that's kind of out of his control. I don't know what he's hitting with guys in scoring position, but I don't know how many players we've actually had in scoring position lately. But so he's improved, and I think when we first discussed this topic, my thought was, we were going to be talking about how much he's been struggling and if there's any concern. I think I'm getting a little bit more positive about where he's going to end up, but I know, Pramit, you're not 100% sold on it.
I still believe he can do it. I'm not going to write him off. I'm not going to say, oh, we should be deeply concerned or gravely concerned that this is not a bad situation. I still believe that if he can get himself into shape, go through some struggles. He's never struggled before. Maybe that's a part of it as well. And I do question, like, organizationally, is there anything they could do? And I don't want to just say fire coaches, but is there anything maybe they could do better that they haven't done well? Because again, they've had really one impact bat, Bo Bichette, so far come through their whole development system the past few years. So, or any of guys that have even spent some time in the minors. So it could be just a matter of a combination of different things. He's, as Azam says, he's so young. So you don't want to write him off. You don't want to give up on him at all. And who knows, maybe like had this been a normal season and he got off to a bad start like this, he could have spent some more time in the minors to fix up some things, which, hey, Mike Trout got set back on at one time when he first got called up. So he hasn't had that opportunity for development. So I'm sure this COVID, everything hasn't helped. But I'm still very high on him. It's just not come as fast as we would have liked, especially when you factor in that in recent years, we've had a lot of young 20-year-old stars take the league by storm, and we were hoping he would do that for us, and he hasn't so far.
How much of a difference would having a big bat hitting behind him in the lineup make?
I don't know if it would have made a lot of difference. I mean, sometimes, like, I truly believe, like, I mean, Blue Jays haven't had too many prospects of his hype, right? And I think sometimes our expectations are a little too high. It is a little concerning that he hits a ball a lot on the ground, and he's been less than patient. But like you said, I mean, he's coming around a little bit, so you never know. Maybe he might, he might really be coming around.
Yeah, in terms of lineup protection, you should read Keith Law's book, Smart Baseball, that debunks the whole notion of protection and having a big bat behind a hitter. It doesn't really do that much.
Do a whole lot, right? Yeah.
It's been proven that it's very, like, there isn't a change. Pitchers aren't really going to pitch a guy differently based on who's hitting behind him. You get the guy, you pitch somebody to get them out, then the better hitter behind him will come up with a guy not on base, which will reduce the amount of damage that hitter can possibly do. So it doesn't make sense to, we're not going to give him we are going to throw more pitches in the strike zone and give him better pitches to hit, so the guy behind us won't have him on base. Well, if you give him better pitches to hit, he'll higher probability that he will get on base or hit a home run. So yeah, technically he won't be on base, but he would have scored a run for you. So yeah, that's been debunked, I think, in most circles in baseball.
Yeah, and one thing to keep in mind. So last year we know he got tired towards the end with his fitness and everything, and he kind of tailed off a little bit. But if you really, like, one of the metrics is weighted runs created plus, right? And if the rate stat, so 100 is league average, and if you're 110, then you're 10% better than the league average. If you look at top 25 seasons, rookie seasons, right? I mean, I think I wrote this article sometime last year after once the season ended. He's still ranked pretty high up there. Like, for if you look at the list of top 25 players, And just looking at age 20 rookie season, like, Mike Trout put up monster numbers. 10 of those 25 are in the Hall of Fame. And I think Vlad ranked somewhere around the 20th mark, even in that, like even with a very disappointing season. So you can see that for players that young, it's not very easy, right? It's not an easy game. It takes a lot of skill and a lot of adjustments. So I mean, that's why we sometimes need to have a bit of perspective as well. Like, he's a very, very young guy. So what do you guys think of Blue Jays going forward? Like, how do you see them? Like, do you think they're going to make a run for the playoffs? I mean, it is an expanded playoff this time around, so I mean, you don't really have to be a stellar team to make it.
You don't have Bo Bichette, your best hitter, for 1/6 of your season, and they haven't had much offensive production outside of him. You don't have Ken Giles, who, I mean, you could talk about the value of a closer, but really it just extends your bullpen. So if you have him in the ninth, then you can get your other top relievers early, use them earlier in the game. So, and you'll have more flexibility in using them. So even with an expanded playoff, I don't think they will get in this year. I mean, who knows? They could go on but then again, with the nature of the season, you just go on a 1-win streak. You can go on a 5-game win streak, and that might just be enough to get you that the 8th seed that they're going with. So if I were to venture a guess, no, but I mean, it's not that they're not that far out of it.
Yeah, and I don't think so. And just with the issues that they're having with their bats, and they're 3.5 back right now, the Orioles. But even if they did, like, what's the point? They're not going to make any real noise. So it might get some excitement, but I just don't see a point to it. But I do want to point out, just before we move on, while I still have my chance, the Marlins are sitting atop of the NL East at 9-6. So there's your Marlins update, everybody.
They're making it. They're going to the playoffs. Are you going to pick them to win the World Series this year, Ron?
Absolutely. If they make it to the playoffs, Marlins history shows that they win the World Series.
We shall see. Now, funny, the top 8 teams in each league, American League, National League, make the playoffs. The Jays are only 2 games out of that 8th seed. So, and round 1 is a 3-game weekend series where anything can happen. But yeah, I would say no at this point.
Yeah, and it's too bad, because this is probably the worst season to tank, because one, you only have 16 games, so any team can make some noise, and secondly, you're not going to know a whole lot about prospects probably, because not many people, like, there's not a whole lot of baseball going on, so you might as well just have a low draft pick and just make some noise this season rather than tanking to get another high pick next year.
Yeah, on the flip side, it's better if you can't have fans anyways. It might be the best time to tank.
Exactly.
Not being hit at the gates.